Hey, soul survivors, we're going to talk about is narcissism and CPTSD, which is complex post-traumatic stress disorder, the same thing. We know that our narcissist was traumatized, and are they just CPTSD sufferers that grew into adults? And so now we call it something different. So if you're wondering, I got lots of answers on that. What treatments are for CPTSD and narcissism? What are the best ways? And also we can kind of do that reverse learning where we learn what not to do if we are trying to heal from CPTSD. A lot of us have gotten that, which is actual brain damage. The brain is neuroplastic, so it can kind of like rewire itself, kind of as if you went blind. Your hearing's going to get better, your sense of taste is going to get better. So we deal with what is gone, what can regrow grows, and what doesn't regrow kind of goes through that neuroplasticity where we compensate for what we're lacking, and we can function in sometimes a different way, but we can function again. So narcissism, that's that personality trait or disorder that has that excessive sense of self-importance, admiration, lack of empathy, and it is diagnosable as a mental health condition, and it will fall under the category of personality disorders, that cluster B that is in that diagnostic statistical manual. We're currently on the DSM-5. So there have been some changes over time. The more we learn, the more complex things get. We kind of do more and more research. So complex post-traumatic stress disorder is a psychological condition that can develop in people who have experienced repeated and prolonged trauma. PTSD is a one-time event, and we've been in a relationship for quite a while that's going to be CPTSD, and it can include child abuse, neglect, other forms of chronic interpersonal trauma. So is it the same thing? CPTSD is not currently recognized as a separate diagnosis in this DSM-5, but it is also considered a subtype of the PTSD, that one-time event, and it's characterized by additional symptoms such as difficulties with emotional regulation. We have a really hard time. There's times I was walking and I just wanted to cry, or I'm trying to talk to someone and I just want to burst out in tears, and it has nothing to do with that interpersonal connection that I'm having with them. So it does affect interpersonal relationships. Or like, what's going on? Also our self-concept. What is wrong with me? Was I not worth it? And is the other supply prettier, whatever, better, smarter? And we start distorting our own self-concept. So there are some overlapping symptoms or behaviors between this narcissism and CPTSD, but we have to remember there are distinct psychological conditions with different causes and treatment approaches. So NPD is primarily that personality trait, and CPTSD is a form of trauma-related psychological distress that can affect a person's emotional, relational, and psychological functioning. And there can be times that it can be very helpful to either do your own research, listen to things that I have to say, or other YouTubers. Feel free to ask me some concerns, or the more you guys comment, the more I know how to kind of mold your healing to a more personal matter. So the treatment approaches, they do differ, and it's because of the unique nature of these conditions. So for CPTSD, often associated with that prolonged trauma that's been repeated, and they use trauma-focused therapy approaches, and they do use sometimes the type of treatment that they use for drug addicts, because our brain was so rewired, we are so starved for dopamine, that it's like we are going through a cocaine withdrawal, and they have where it's on par to that kind of extreme desperation in a sense. So trauma-focused therapy, there are different types of psychotherapy, and they have cognitive behavioral therapy. I'm all tongue-tied, I've been teaching all day. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, is what the abbreviations are dialectical behavior therapy, known as DBT, and eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, EMDR. I've seen people love this, and also some people don't like it. So you do need to make sure, for one thing, that you're ready to address the type of trauma. So if it was a bunch of, physical and sexual and emotional abuse, maybe right now you can just deal with the emotional. And over time, when you're ready, you'll be able to go a little bit deeper. So prepare yourself, that some things are going to be too difficult at this time, and that's okay. It'll get easier the more you heal. So these therapies that I was talking about help focus on helping the people like us understand and manage our emotional reactions. We're very emotional, very caring about other people, that we forget to care about ourselves sometimes. So it helps us develop healthy coping strategies and address any maybe possibly maladaptive thoughts or beliefs that are related to the trauma. And the second way is emotional regulation skills. When we have CPTSD, it often involves difficulties with this emotional regulation that we're going through. Therapy can include techniques to help us identify, to understand, also to manage our emotions in healthy ways. Just because we're managing our emotions doesn't mean they're always in a healthy way, such as drinking our pain away. That is not a healthy way. We'll talk a little bit more. This may involve developing skills for emotional regulation, distress tolerance, and interpersonal effectiveness. And it does take work. It's not just going to happen overnight. There's unfortunately no magic pill that we can take. But relationship focused therapy, CPTSD, can impact somebody's ability to form and maintain healthy relationships, whether it be with a coworker or yourself, or with like friends, or a new love interest. So therapy can help us work with these interpersonal skills, help us to establish healthy boundaries. Sometimes we tend to shut people out too much. That's not healthy for us. We're self-isolating because of trauma. So when we address the trauma, we can understand it, and that leads to the healing. And also addressing any attachment related issues that might have resulted from the trauma. Are we pushing people away? Are we clinging on to them? What is going on inside our thought process? So when somebody has NPD, this personality has rigid patterns of behaviors, thoughts, and emotions. And with NPD, the treatment can be very difficult, because not every narcissist wants to go through it. Not every narcissist wants to be honest about it, or to even heal, or to commit to it. So they can, if they feel that they're ready to, or they have some devastating act to where they're like, whoa, I better get my act together. And also there is the difference spectrum on how severe their narcissism is. So there's more hope for other types and less hope for others. So psychotherapy, different types of psychotherapy, such as, like I said, that CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, psychodynamic therapy, and dialectical behavior therapy, that DBT, can be used to deal with the maladaptive thoughts, behaviors, emotionally, their emotional patterns that are associated with NPD. And the relationship and building rapport with the narcissist is a critical component of the treatment. They need to trust their therapist enough to be honest with them. So self-esteem, self-identity work, when somebody has NPD, and in the healing process, it involves just they have distorted self-perceptions and self-esteem issues. Therapy can focus on exploring and challenging the narcissist's self-perception, building a healthier sense of self-esteem. A lot of them feel that they're not lovable, and to recognize when people are loving them instead of them on the defense, feeling that people are manipulating them. And it helps them to develop a more realistic self-identity. They're not always the most grandiose or the worst of the worst, that they're just another person. And We're all special in our own way, but I think you guys know what I mean. But interpersonal skills training, individuals that have that NPD, they can struggle with these interpersonal relationships due to the difficulties with empathy. They don't have that connection. They also struggle with emotional regulation, social skills. So those are some of the things that can be worked on. And therapy can even at times include healthy communication skills, training in empathy, and trying to help them understand it. Now, there is the cold and the warm empathy. Cold empathy is more like logically saying, okay, you're sad, you know, your family member passed away. Like, I get it. I guess, you know, you lose something, but they're not going to have that deep, deep connection where they feel what we're going through. And when you feel something, it's a lot easier to respond in the correct manner. So if I felt your pain over losing someone, for one thing, you would feel it's genuine from me, because I would be like, oh man, that sucks. Like, sorry about your loss. You'd feel like my words would feel warm and full. So there is warm empathy, which is that true connection. They don't have the warm empathy, they have the cold empathy. So there is a difference in how therapy is done, the different techniques. So, you know, is a narcissist and somebody who has CPTSD, are they able to rewire their brains to be healthy and happy? So NPD and CPTSD, they do work towards that common goal, but rewiring the brain to achieve happiness and healthiness might involve a combination sometimes of these various therapeutic approaches and self-directed efforts. It's not always one technique, and sometimes you have to try different things. So there's no magic pill for NPD. There are like comorbidities that even with CPTSD, you can you know, give depression and anxiety medications if so desired, but there's no cure to just get rid of this. They can deal with the codependencies. We have to remember NPD is related to the personality. That is who they are. We are healing from a trauma. How we're acting now, what we're feeling now is not us. Our personality is just wounded right now. And the narcissist, it gets real confusing because, you know, it's a personality disorder, but the trauma changed our personality. This is who they are. This is what we're going through. And it gets hard to understand it. Like, we're both going through it, but it's different. And when we try to figure out, like, how do they not have a connection to me? There are things in our lives that we might not have a connection to, something that is nice, but you know, is it that important? Just like if I took you out to dinner, I don't know, McDonald's, you guys are probably going to comment how much I hate McDonald's, but I wish I'd had the salads. I like the salads. But let's say I was going to take you out to eat, and I'm like, well, you know, what do you want? You want a burger? Okay, you'll get a burger. I get a chicken sandwich. We go to sit down, and you're kind of wanting this burger. So you're ready to have it, and they forgot the condiments on it. So I'm a good friend, so I'll go ahead and get it, you know, and if you're really hungry, you know, I'm like, if you want, you know, you can go ahead and eat my chicken sandwich. I know you wanted the burger, but I'll go get some condiments for you. And it's kind of like, sometimes you're like, I'll just eat this. Like, I don't care either way. I'm just hungry. But if it's like your favorite meal, you might wait for it. When you have that favorite, you know, your mouth starts watering and you're, you know, looking forward to it and all these things. So you have a connection. And there's no connection with the narcissist and us or the new supply. So it's kind of like, I don't care right now what suits my needs. I'm hungry. Fine, I'll eat this. If it would have been this way, that's fine. It's not, whatever. I just want to eat. And it's just fulfilling that supply as opposed to waiting for the perfect, what could have been. So don't look at it as, are you imperfect? You know, a cheeseburger and a chicken sandwich are what they are. You know, the new supply versus us, we're both what we are, which is different. So is a chicken sandwich or a cheeseburger better? For one thing, it's going to depend on who you are, you know, and we got to realize whatever it is that we are, this is us. So we're going to be the best us possible. And that's going to make people like us the best. Not necessarily even change us. There are people who will never change us. They don't want this kind of burger. But if we're the best burger compared to a McDonald's burger, we're going to attract more people, people who value us more. And not that we can be bought, but just as an analogy on value, you know, people will see a more willingness to financially invest, to go out of their way to get this super great burger. These are analogies, guys. So if we're worth things, we can build ourselves up to be more than a McDonald's burger. So I hope that makes sense. Now I'm going to get hungry. But additionally, you know, people with a CPTSD, trauma-focused therapy is beneficial a lot of times. And this involves the processing and healing from the effects of trauma, developing emotional regulation skills and addressing those relational patterns that have been impacted by the trauma. And on top of that, there are self-care practices. We'll talk more about that in a second. Self-compassion, mindfulness. When we have positive affirmations and are mindful of certain things, some of our memories might have been distorted, just like the narcissist, some of theirs are. And it deals with the brain fog, problems with memory, and you know, to start increasing us choosing healthy lifestyle choices. And you know, what we eat, I need to do a video on that. It was 80% something, the blood, I'll do another video on it. But when we don't eat right, it affects our dopamine levels, it affects stress and anxiety and all that stuff. So when we don't eat right, it actually increases problems and lowers the dopamine, and we're craving that dopamine. So, you know, sometimes that's why people stress eat. So instead of stress eating, comfort eating, that we can go do other things to get dopamine. Instead of damaging our body, we can actually help our body. And that's the goal. You know, the more we help our body, the easier it will be, the more even keel we will be with that, you know, serotonin, dopamine, all the feel good hormones and neurotransmitters. So what are these ways to increase dopamine, serotonin, and other feel good hormones and neurotransmitters? They have always said regular exercise, physical activity, whether it's aerobic or strength training, even going for a simple walk. And this can potentially increase that dopamine, serotonin, and other neurotransmitters that are associated with our whole well-being. A balanced diet, omega-3 fatty acids, B vitamins, antioxidants. If you're lacking vitamin D, we got the sun. It's April 12th. Yeah. Oh, it's my nephew's birthday. I have to send him a note. But we can increase things easily. Sorry, that threw me off. But prioritizing our healthy sleep habits. And I was going to say about like a sugar crash. We can either have something sustaining and keep us even keel, or like sugar crashes. We don't want to be bebopping all around. We want to have our emotional stability getting us through the day instead of up and down and up and down. And sometimes we get addicted to that. We get addicted to being in pain because of the way the relationship was. Also, stress management is important, because stress, all these things that the narcissist did to us can affect our health, like even cancers and heart disease and all these things that we have to be aware of. Chronic stress, it depletes neurotransmitter levels in the brain. Engaging in stress reducing techniques such as mindfulness, meditation, deep breathing. A lot of people like yoga, hot yoga, or other relaxation techniques. They can help lower stress levels and support that healthy neurotransmitter function in a more stabilized fashion. Social connections, we've been isolated. It's time for us to get back out there and reconnect with people. Even people you don't know. Smile, say hello. Positive social interactions and healthy relationships, these show a positive impact in the levels of the neurotransmitters, and these include oxytocin, serotonin, spending time with loved ones, engaging in meaningful social activities, possibly, community events or religious events. And this helps to foster positive social connections, and that can boost our neurotransmitter production and enhance our well-being, which is what we are looking for. Hobbies and pleasurable activities. When we do this, it helps to bring joy, pleasure, and gives us creativity, lets out that creative spirit. Also leisure activities, go relaxing. I want to go tubing or kayaking. You get to see beautiful nature, feel the wind and the sun, and just see all the beautiful creatures, the sounds. This really relaxing and beautiful when you take it all in. We need to live in the moment instead of just going kayaking and crying and getting through it. Just to say I went kayaking is not going to be the same experience if I look around, take in the sounds, take in the smells. So medication and therapy. Sometimes medication and therapy can be recommended if your healthcare professional feels it's necessary to address imbalances in neurotransmitters. There are different severities of things that we've gone through. Sometimes, hopefully you're not struggling with suicide. 988 is the free suicide hotline. I'm in America. If you dial our country code 1, you can utilize that free service. You might have charges on your phone for long distance or roaming, but I don't know. They still do roaming. I don't know. But that used to be expensive. So these neurotransmitter levels, these are complex and they are influenced by many factors, but simply increasing neurotransmitter levels may not be a cure-all for mental health conditions. A holistic approach can include the healthy lifestyle, managing your stress, utilizing social support, professional guidance, or I'm here to help you too. I'm certified to teach psychology. I'm also a certified life and relationship coach, and also a health coach. I just started this health journey that I'll be talking about, where it is rebalancing to where you're not craving and crashing, and I'll do more on that if you guys would like more information on that. It also helps with weight loss and inflammation, and just getting rid of things that bring us down. Also, when we're lacking in dopamine, we will tend to have more muscle aches. And there are ways. So the worst way is denial or avoidance. Ignoring or denying the existence of trauma or its impact on us will hinder our healing process. Avoiding or repressing our emotions, our memories, or thoughts related to the trauma, that can help us prevent us from processing and resolving the trauma. We have to get through it. We have to address it. We can't repress it anymore. It will always want to come out if we don't deal. So we have to let it out and deal with it. One thing you don't want to do during the healing process is to blame yourself. Internalizing the blame for this abuse that was put upon us and believing that we're responsible for their poor behavior from the narcissist or actions can contribute to the feelings of guilt, shame, low self-esteem. So when you blame ourselves for the trauma from the narcissist, it can cause some negative self-beliefs. It'll start to perpetuate those. It doesn't just stay there. It makes them worse. They start to fester. So another thing that is to avoid during the healing process is seeking revenge or retaliation. A lot of us want to put that karma onto the narcissist. That's only going to damage our personality and what we stood for all this time. So stay true to yourself. And it is understandable, but there's more effective ways. If we utilize revenge, it can prolong the cycle of harm and perpetuate negative emotions and behaviors. And also, don't isolate yourself. Utilize friends and family to go do some activities. Don't overburden them because they're not your therapist, but they are supportive, but they're not your complete support. There's stuff we have to do on our own, and they'll help us get through it. But Some of us have to listen to what they're saying too if it's getting too much for them. But a lot of our friends do help us a lot. People too who don't understand narcissistic abuse might not connect with it. They might not know how to help you. And if they think you're crazy for staying, then they're not getting it. So whatever advice they give you isn't a knowledgeable suggestion. So suppressing emotions, got to get them out. Rushing the healing process, we have to know, unfortunately, it does take time, but the exciting part is healing does happen. You're going to start to feel lighter. You're going to start to feel less disassociated. You're not going to struggle with the cognitive dissonance. If you want your narcissist back, when you raise your level, that big old burger that I'm talking about, you're going to be desired. But when you're worth whatever this big burger's worth, you're not going to sell it for 25 cents because you realize how valuable it is. And, you know, we have to realize that when we start doing that we're going to look at them in a different light. Like, are you kidding? You're willing to give me 25 cents as an analogy. You're willing to see me once every 6 months. That's yeah, that's the kind of relationship you want with me as far as maybe a love interest. It's gonna make you look at it in a different perspective. So you turn into something beautiful. You recognize your worth, and then you decide. It'll give you a clearer aspect of what you are willing to take. And it'll help other people up the ante to see what you're worth. And you have to stick it, you have to live it, stick to it and live it, because then it becomes real when you know your worth. So let me know what I can help you guys with. I am here to help you. I make videos for you guys, but I also have one-on-ones available where you can email me. I'd like to start doing some viewer topics a little bit more because those really help a lot of people. Thanks for watching. See ya.